Hello, this is Mother of Runes. From left to right, you can see myself, our friend Eagle, and Blighted Jayhawk. You can see us doing the early entry trick, which is a great technique for low-manning raids to grab those few seconds. The goal is to click enter at exactly 3:02. Any earlier and you'll get kicked and you won't even be able to re-enter the same lobby. This is something I pretty much only do when we're low-manning a raid like this, because if you're doing it with a bunch of other people, you don't really need those seconds and you don't want to risk messing it up. So I have 8 maxed Kyogres, one of which we won't actually get to, but I thought we would. Blighted has 7, and Eagle has 4 maxed and 1 at the breakpoint of 37.5, which you'll see on his second team, but we also won't actually get to. So this run didn't really turn out how we expected. Our area doesn't really get much rain, and when it does in-game, it always seems to only be for an hour, and it's hard for the 3 of us to get together at random times on a weekday. The weather actually changed to cloudy a few minutes after we finished this. So I mentioned breakpoints earlier, and I wanted to give more of a rundown of those. So for starters, if you look at a Kyogre in the game, it will say that Waterfall does 16 damage and Hydro Pump does 130. These are great moves, but damage doesn't really work like that. And without it being explained, you already kind of know that. Because if it worked the way it sounds at first, there would be no reason to power up Pokemon. You just attack with your level 20 Kyogres or your Gyarados. So since it's more complicated than that, we can dig a little further. There are charts that will tell you all this. I'll link gamepresses below, but basically how much damage a move does depends on the breed of Pokemon, its levels, its IVs, what the raid boss is, the weather, and your friendship level. But again, you don't have to figure it out yourself, you can plug it into a calculator. But let's say you have a level 30 Kyogre with 15 attack, and it's raining, and you're battling Regirock with a group that has at least 1 Ultra Friend. Each waterfall does 13 damage to that Regirock. That same Kyogre, in the same conditions, would actually do 27 damage to a Golem per waterfall. And this is for several reasons, because Golem stats go through a 4-star formula instead of the 5-star one, and it has lower defense and is about twice as weak to water. But let's go back to the Regirock. As you power up your Kyogre, it's still only doing 13 damage per waterfall. The Hydro Pump is getting stronger, but Waterfall isn't. Until you power the Kyogre up higher and higher, and Kyogre's attack stat gets high enough, and finally it starts doing 14 damage per waterfall. In this scenario, that crossover point is at level 37.5. And even though the difference between 13 and 14 damage doesn't seem like that big of a deal, each Kyogre does a lot of waterfalls, so it adds up quickly. So if you're trying to stretch your rare candy efficiently, it can be a really good thing to look up. However, when you're low manning, sometimes you need every single second you can manage, and getting it to a breakpoint isn't always enough, but it's good information to have. Charge moves also have these breakpoints, or charge points, but they happen at almost every single power-up. But in this case, a level 39.5 and a level 40 Kyogre do the same amount of damage. So one of mine and one of Eagle's are actually only at this point. I really hadn't planned on making more than 6 Kyogres, but as you just saw when we rejoined, it was really nice that Blighted and I could just hit rejoin and go back in with more Kyogres. Now, if you have the candy to do it, it can be helpful. So we were just so happy to finish this raid, and thank you for watching.